still chasing fire through the years half slow. Weights on my back, sweat in my eyes. Old man's fight never says die. Old man on the mat, still standing tall. One more round, yeah, I've heard it all. Grip the edge, don't let it slip. Strength in the soul, strength in the grip.
Hey, Old Man on the Mat crew, this is Tony Jones coming here to another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Guys, I'm telling you, this life is good. I know I say that every episode. And I told myself I'm going to stop saying that because somebody sent me a message saying, man, you say life is good too much. I'm like, nah, I'm going to keep saying it. Anyway, life is great. One more day closer to freedom. But guys, the guest I have here today, he's a little younger than what we talked to, but that's okay. I think he has a lot to offer. You know, we're not going to stick to just us old farts talking. We're going to talk to some young bucks coming through in the martial arts and fitness and everything. But this guy here, he's out of Newport Richey, Florida. This kid, in a short period of time, he's done Muay Thai, karate, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, Taekwondo, kickboxing. Holy cow, this kid has been busy at 27 years old. All right, brother. Well, let's get into this, guys. With that, I give you Isaac Wilson. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, Tony. How you doing?
Still alive and kicking.
Hey, that's all you need, man. That's all you need. As long as we're kicking, we're getting.
Right. I always tell people I'm still kicking, but I don't kick as high anymore.
Yeah, listen, the knee kicks are where it's at anyways. You don't got to go
That's
too high.
exactly where it's at, man. But, man, you're out in Newport Richey, Florida. Were you born and raised out there, or is that just somewhere you Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
I'm a hometown boy. I've been here my whole life. Born and raised within the same county, different cities and stuff in the same county, yeah.
Yeah, not bad, man. So when did you get into martial arts? And because like I tell every one of you, if you listen to my intro, I talk about it a lot. I started when I was 8 years old. So being at that young age, trying to do martial arts, you don't know what you're into. You jump in because you see Kung Fu Theater. Well, you're too young for those days. But, man, if you can find an old channel 66, Kung Fu Theater in Chicago, they still got it playing, I think, man.
I am familiar. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily a Kung Fu movie nerd, but I've definitely watched a lot of Kung Fu movies, a lot of martial arts movies. It's one of the things that's missing nowadays. I may be young, but I'm old enough to remember when in the early 2000s, specifically when I was a kid, when there were so many martial arts movies coming out, and now they don't make as much.
Yeah.
They have martial arts within the movies, but martial arts based movies, you don't really find them as much.
Yeah, that's right. You don't. And I think a lot of this generation is missing those days, because those days were all these crazy Kung Fu movies that you look at it now. I still go back and watch some of those, like The Drunken Master with Jackie Chan when he was like 19 or 20 years old. It was great.
My favorite movie of his is Meals on Wheels. That's one of my favorite ones. That's
yes.
Where fighting with Benny the Jet. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I think
man. That's awesome. So you do know a little bit about him. Good stuff.
A little bit. I know a little bit.
I get it, man.
Luckily, I was, introduced martial arts very early on. Like you said, you were 8 years old. I was around 8 to 10 years old when I officially started training, but my dad trained martial arts. He trained in karate. So growing up, we had a lot of influence from him, really. You know what I mean? Like, even though we weren't officially training, it was his, from day one. Like, we were watching martial arts movies, we were practicing with him, even though it wasn't in an official ranking kind of fashion. He showed us like basic punches, blocks, kicks, that sort of thing. One of the first forms that I learned in karate. And, just like I said, the time that I grew up, even though I'm still young, the time where I was growing up in the early 2000s, there were so many shows and movies about martial arts that it was kind of just like all surrounding me at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say officially at 8, and then I started unofficially when I could remember, I guess, like 2, 3, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. Were you the bad kid running around and kicking crap and destroying stuff? So your parents were like, you got to burn some of this energy off. Yeah. Yeah.
Breaking stuff just with spin kicks instead of, like rage or, whatever.
No raging out, man.
No, yeah. Like I said, my dad was a martial artist, so you can't act up. Dad was old school, so you couldn't, you're getting push-ups or you're getting a shinai upside the butt or something.
Oh, man, yeah, you don't see a lot of that anymore. The shinai knuckle cross, the arm sticking out in the horse stance, and you just start getting whacked on the forearms because you did something goofy. Oh, my gosh, those were fun days, man. Or child abuse days, as they call them nowadays.
was right at the end of that too. Like right when I was because I'm 27, so I was like right there at that point where like the martial arts schools where I mean at that point there were still a lot of schools that were a bit more modern, you know, they weren't doing as much that kind of punishment, but I did come from more of an old school kind of gym, and so those gyms around that time were still doing that kind of stuff, and so I
Yeah.
definitely remember that. You know, it's borderline like good training abuse. I turned out all right, so you know
You turned out all right. I think we all did a little bit. I remember going through all that stuff, and you know, you look, but you didn't know anything different. That's all you knew, and I didn't know that I could say, how you say, I could say no. In essence, you know, when I was, you know, they say do knuckle push-ups. Yeah, you do them. You hit the wall a few times. You do the V sit-ups when they hit you in the stomach. All those things we let happen. But I remember when I was in college, I was never very flexible. Never very flexible, man. All the stuff I've done, never. And so we're sitting there in butterfly. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so the instructor's going down the line, standing on everybody's inside their legs and flattening them out.
Yeah.
You know, and he comes to me. And I just got up. I said no, because I would scream, you know. I mean, no. And anymore, you know, those it was just funny. He's like, okay, I won't do it. You know, I could have just said no, but I got up, made a big scene, and you know, oh my legs.
You know, the funny story is sort of related to that. The old gym that I was talking about that I started in, there was a guy that had come in. Now I wasn't present for this, but this is a story that they told, and this guy had watched. This kind of ties into the movie thing too. He had watched many Jean-Claude Van Damme movies because he came in. He was like, "Listen, I know you have to break my legs for me to get full splits, and I'm fully ready for you to do that." And they were like, "You don't have to do that. We're not gonna do that. Like, we might make you stretch." I definitely remember those days of like, listen, it's hardcore. People are gonna stand on you, but we're not breaking anybody's legs. Like, calm down.
Right, right. Oh man, he been deep into the movies too much, man. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
But you
a
know,
lot
when
of
going
people
into
they
the arts at a young age, you start, you know, I can tell you, when at 8 years old, I thought it was going to be some of that. So when I first walked on the mat, I was just blown away. I was just freezing, froze, all that stuff, all that energy, didn't know what to do, but I wanted to be there. You know, you had
yeah.
the same feeling when you got in there, or just, hey, because your dad?
You know what? It felt very natural to me. I don't remember having a feeling of like, oh, this is the first time. Oh, this is like an anxiety kind of driven experience. Like I'm doing something new. There was some of that, but I think because from the beginning my dad was training me that it somewhat felt familiar. I remember standing in attention stance. I remember sitting there doing punches. I remember, you know, learning like the basic boxing kind of stuff. I remember doing the kicks. And so the stuff that we were doing when I officially started training, it was similar. So no, I don't really, you know, because I've been doing it for so long, I don't really remember a time where it was like that, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that
Now
makes
that I'm an
sense. You know,
adult,
just
it's different than now that I'm adult because I picked up different styles and different training, gone to different gyms as I've gotten older, and now I get that. If I go to a new place, I'm like, okay, here we go. We're going to this new place. Hopefully, no one's too, you know. As a kid, you know, to me, I wasn't thinking about that kind of stuff. I was just like, hey, we're going to do
yeah.
punching in the garage, but now we're going to do it, you know, in some building with mats. Like, heck yeah, let's go.
Cushy stuff, man. I tell you, I still get nervous. I won't say nervous. I still get that little gut anxiety when I go into new places because I'm traveling so much. So I go to new places to train because you don't know the gym environment around there now. You know, because I've been into gyms where there just been dicks in there. Excuse my French. I mean, straight meathead
Yeah.
dicks. They just want to fight. And at my old ass, I'm just trying to stay in shape. I like to roll. I like to do stuff, and you know, but some places you still get that gut thing going, but you still do it anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, that's the, you know, courage with, I don't remember the exact quote, but without fear, there is no courage. You know,
Yeah,
to
good
be
point. Yeah.
courageous, there has to be fear there. So I feel like I definitely understand what you're talking about, whether I'm going to one of the sister gyms to spar or whether people are coming to our gym to spar or whether, because I at this point, I train at multiple different places, but specifically in Muay Thai, because the sparring that we get done is, you know, sometimes can be a little, you know, elevated sometimes depending on who you're sparring. I definitely get that feeling, even on sparring days. Still, like I said, as a kid, you never have that, but as an adult, it's weird to see that transition of now that I'm an adult. It's like, hey, you've been doing it for so long. Why would you get nervous still? It's like, yeah, because I know that I'm like people get this good. I'm like this good, so it's like I don't want to, you know what I mean. Plus, like you said, yeah, the culture that you have in the gym, if they're you know if they're assholes, it's just you don't want to have to worry about that, you know. And so that comes to mind.
Yeah.
I'm a good spar. I'm a very polite guy. You know what I mean? I'll match your energy though. Like you want to go too heavy, I'm not gonna just sit back and be like, oh, let you do it. But like at the same time, if I'm dictating the pace, we're gonna have a good time. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I've just been doing it long
Yeah.
enough. Like
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm gonna hurt myself. I got to go to work tomorrow. You know what I mean? I love martial arts, and
Right.
I mean, we live in the real world here. Like let's get it done. You know?
But unfortunately, we do run into some of those guys that, man, it's just they think it's the fight of their life. They got $1 million contract on the line. It's like, guys, you got to go to
And
work tomorrow.
Dana White's in the corner watching. He's trying to get
Right,
a
right.
full fight deal going on.
Exactly. But I think reading some of your stuff on you and some of your background, I think we have a very similar because you've done different arts over the years. You've done taekwondo, you've done Muay Thai, you've done
Mhm,
kickboxing, you've done some. I won't say everything, but you got a good range. Now, this
mhm.
may be I don't know, a taboo question, but I like asking those kind of questions anyway. So, what was the art, the art that you probably took that in your span that you thought, well, this is such a simple art, and most of this isn't really practical?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would have to say, specifically within the traditional art realms, the thing is karate at its core, when it was first developed, was a very practical art and was actually used for fighting. It wasn't until the commercialization of karate where it became kind of bad. But there's a lot of people in the karate space that still train in that non. You can't really apply what they're doing. It's not really going to work in a fight. But I think they lost the translation of, for example, the kata that you do. The kata is supposed to be an index of techniques and sequences that you can extract and do with a partner and do a partner drill. And then you do a
Yeah.
partner drill, and then you can try to do it in sparring. I mean, that's how you train in literally any art, Jiu Jitsu, Muay Thai, whatever, except for the kata part. You just, okay, it's the sequence. We're going to drill it over and over again. And then, you try to use it when you roll or when you spar. Karate was the same exact way. They just had the kata, which is the index. But over time, people stopped caring about what it meant when they were doing the kata and just went on to what is the performance, what does it look like. So I've been in
Yeah.
schools and trained with people in the taekwondo space and in the karate space where it's like, you guys don't know what you're doing in these katas, so it's kind of, I don't want to say a waste of time, but not practical to fighting. Like, you're not really teaching me more how to fight. I might figure it out myself, and I'm going to figure it out with my other karate teachers that are more on top of that kind of application stuff, but I've trained with people where it's like, that's not. So I had to say the traditional arts, coming from the karate and the taekwondo. But at the same time, I've trained taekwondo, but it was only for about a 7 to 8 month period. So I can't even, I don't want to claim it. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of those ones
Yeah, I
where
see what you're saying. Yeah.
you meet people where they're like, I've trained this, and it's like, okay, but you did like a couple months of each one of those. Like, does that count? So taekwondo is one of those ones I didn't dive deep enough to really answer fully, that question, but it's within the same vein of the karate stuff because taekwondo has roots in karate because it was Okinawan karate and then it was Japan, then Japan's occupation of Korea, and then then taekwondo was created. So
Yeah.
yeah, traditional arts I would say for sure. But that's a pretty easy question to answer. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
if you
it is, but some.
jiu-jitsu, then the other two are gonna.
Yeah, right. Well, so I like that question. Is like the way you answered it though, because you do know it's like you do know the history of Taekwondo and karate, because karate was back in the day. I say back in the day a lot, but karate was Taekwondo. You know what I mean? It was more self defense. It was street fighting, all that. Then over the years, it shifted to this performative thing. You know what I mean? It's just they're cute. You got little kids at 10 years old walking around with black belts and these kind of
Yeah,
things, and I think it's watered down. And and I'm not crapping on anybody out there. Arts, and I always believe that every art is viable. It's the practitioner that does it, right? That makes it either good or bad or whatever it is. But over
yeah,
my years, I tell you, over my years, I've known some guys that done taekwondo, and I still to this day know one guy who I said that would do taekwondo like the old traditional karate way. He knew his stuff. There wasn't a lot of flashy kicks and all this stuff. It was the right amount of kicks. It was where it needs to be. His name is Keith Romp. So if you hear about this guy, he's retired from the police, military, everything now. But the guy is really badass. Went to school with that guy.
yeah, for sure. Taekwondo definitely has a lot of strengths. Like I said, it finds its roots in karate and what it's become. And I'm not even, like you said, I'm not trying to shit on anybody's
Yeah.
art or whatever. What Taekwondo, specifically Olympic Taekwondo, has become is it's kind of crazy because you see these old school guys, the way that they fight and the amount of pressure and like they were throwing kill shots, and now you see them and they're kind of pitter pattering, and not even just that because it's just the intention behind it. People used to train martial arts to learn how to fight, and then they just happened to do the competition where they had to, go down a little bit. Now you have athletes who are specific to their sport, and it's almost like I can't hate on them because they're just going into a sport and then they're trying to do that sport as best as they can. And if you're hyper focusing on a specific area, like what is the rule system, what's the points, then you're going to become really good at that. And sometimes that looks like the rules say I can't do this, so I just do it, and it's like, but that's not real fighting. You know what I mean? So
Right.
there's aspects to a lot of the traditional arts that are good, but then the sports in which they evolve to are not really as applicable to real fighting at the end of the day, when originally
Yeah.
that's what it was for.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it's really everything was for self-defense, and it's sort of like what you talked about with the traditional. I wouldn't say traditional, but the sports martial artists, and it makes sense though. You have to know the rules if that's what you're going to. That you have to know I can only kick this way or that way. So I believe my humble but accurate opinion. I like to say that martial arts, some martial arts has gotten watered down, and I know, like I said before, I say it all the time. I sound like an old guy. You know, oh man, back in my day, we ate glass and fought all day and all this kind of stuff. But we look at stuff now, and
And
yeah, right, exactly, man. But I tell you, back in the day when it was open tournaments, the only thing had to wear was a mouth guard and a cup. That was it. Because you
Tony,
couldn't, you couldn't, yeah.
I didn't know that old, Tony. What the heck?
I'm old, man. We were fighting in sand and in the woods.
When they introduced the Jun Ree, created the foam dip, hands,
Yeah.
and headgear, the feet gear.
He messed it all up. That was weak.
No one's getting knocked out anymore. Everyone's going home with their teeth sucked.
Right. Oh man, but things are changing. I enjoy martial arts. What's that? I missed you on that. What'd you say?
Everybody's able to go to work tomorrow. Like no one's
Exactly.
too much.
Exactly. I remember, what was it? This was, man, maybe 8 years ago. I was at a tournament in Chicago watching some guys fight. It was an amateur fight. It was an MMA fight. And the kid wouldn't tap. He was an arm bar, and you heard his arm snap. And we're like, oh my gosh, we're watching this kid. He's getting up, his arm is hanging. He's like yelling, I don't tap to no one. I'm like, you got to go to work tomorrow. You probably made $30 on this fight. What are you doing? It was crazy.
You got insurance? You must have a good job, good insurance for just letting it snap.
Right? Right? It was crazy, man. But that's the way guys are going now in MMA. But now, you've competed in a lot of different, you competed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. How long have you been training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
So that's one of those things, another one where I can't claim because I did it for like about an 8-month period. But there was a four-year span where I was training catch can wrestling, submission grappling. So I wasn't technically doing jujitsu. My technical jujitsu I did I'm only a 2-stripe white belt. It was the same time that I was training. Oh, actually, so it was around the same amount of time that I trained both of those arts because the school that I went to was a Taekwondo / Jiu-Jitsu school. So I started because I wanted to pick up. For really to this to make real sense, I have to chronologically start like, oh, this is where I started and this is where I ended up. But there was a point in time where I had left my original gym, the people that I was with, and I was kind of trying to pick up new stuff. And I was like, oh, I miss grappling. Like I miss the karate aspects of the sparring that I was doing. And even though that wasn't the same, I was still training on my own. Yeah. I picked that school up and I was like, oh, this is, so I started doing the jiu-jitsu and the Taekwondo, but it was 8-9 month period total. But I did, like I said, catch wrestling for about 4 years. And it wasn't like catch wrestling rules, it was catch wrestling for MMA because the school that I went to, the mixed martial arts gym, but their grappling program, it was basically a base in catch wrestling, you know what I mean? So it was more for MMA than it was for competition jiu-jitsu. And that's why when I did competition jiu-jitsu, I lost in the first round both times in both tournaments that I went to. We went to a NAGA tournament and then we went to an in-house tournament that was like the crazy thing about the second one that I went to, this is the mentality of the gym that I used to go to. I was a white belt level, and it was an absolute division with like brown belts and black belts, but there was like a $500 prize. So my coach was like, listen, if we all go and we can all take one person out, maybe one person gets a time. I was like, how bad do we need $500?
$500 that bad?
I mean, listen, yeah, between you and me, yeah. But we weren't making much money, let's just say that. But, it was it was still a good time. Enjoyed the competition. I don't really enjoy competition per se, like a lot of people do. Like I'm not a very competitive person. I deal with anxiety, and so I'm usually pretty anxious. When I'm doing it, it's fine. It's just the build up, and I know that's a natural thing. Everybody's like that, but the build up for me is just not worth it sometimes. But yeah, I competed in jiu-jitsu twice. I got about a 2-stripe white belt, same amount of time I was training the Taekwondo, and competed. So I never competed jiu-jitsu when I was training jiu-jitsu. I only competed in jiu-jitsu the 2 times when I was doing the catch wrestling the couple years prior. Yeah.
Okay, not bad. That's good stuff. And you did Muay Thai. How long have you trained Muay Thai?
So I've been doing Muay Thai for since 2021. So I guess coming up on this year will be 5 years. Yeah. So what had happened is, let me give you just a quick little, because it'll make more sense to anybody that's listening, or even you. I started the original gym, the one my dad trained out of, because basically my dad trained martial arts. He had my brother, And so he kind of gave up martial arts. And growing up, though, we were very influenced by it. And so we really wanted to train. And so I was begging him to go to this local martial arts school. And so I went, and it was a Tong Soo Do school, and I was really loving it. I was about 3 classes in, and my dad actually came and watched a class, and he was like, yeah, it was good. Like, you did great, blah, blah, blah. Kind of being weird. And I was like, all right. Come to find out, they pulled me out of the class. My mom says we're not going back. And I'm like, what's going on? And they told me it was because of my grades. And come to find out, my dad was watching the class like, these guys suck. Like, the what? Where? I'm not training in that. That's not a general. It's just this specific school. This specific school is kind of McDoty. And, I didn't know as a kid. I was like,
Gotcha.
I'm punching, I'm kicking. Like, this is awesome. And funnily enough, that same year, his old sensei, which is another reason I pulled him out, his old sensei opened up a gym. So we all started training at that gym. My dad went back, got his black belt. We trained for a couple years in that style of karate. He opened up his own gym, and so my dad had his own place. So it was basically the original place and then my dad's place. And then once my dad shut that, him and my brother kind of stopped training martial arts, but I continued. But it was very kind of on and off. Like, it was like 6 months on, 6 months off, couple weeks on, couple weeks off, basically from 8th grade to 12th grade. Now, come 2017, the owner of that original gym, his son opened up an MMA gym. Now, in that original gym, like I said, we did catch wrestling in the later gym, but they were catch wrestlers within their family. They had experience in American style kickboxing, so above the waist, old school American kickboxing with the guys.
Yep.
And you did karate. Now, a lot of that, the wrestling and the kickboxing stuff was more extracurricular. You had to be there before and after class. He was kind of an old school guy like that, like, oh, I'll do whatever in the class, but you got to show initiative to whatever. So because we were around, because my one of his black belts, we learned that stuff to a certain degree. So his son ended up opening an MMA gym, and that's where I trained MMA for about 4 years. So we were doing the kickboxing, we were doing the catch can grappling, and we were doing just like MMA style stuff in general. But I ended up leaving that place, had kind of a, things happen, people move on, and I ended up leaving there. I know this is a long-winded answer for the Muay Thai thing. When I left there, I had a moment where I was like, am I just going to stop martial arts, like this thing that I've been doing my entire life? And I was like, I had a moment where I had to decide. It was like, no, why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense. The thing that's helped my life up until this point, why would I give that up? That doesn't make any sense. Just because I had a bad experience with the people that I previously did martial arts with, the problem was I associated every ounce and bit of martial arts, that experience that I had with them, because it was, but it's like, I'm my own person, I'm my own martial artist. Like, I'm getting to a point like where if I leave, I need to do my own thing. And I was like, okay, well, I need to do what we were doing there, but I need to go to the best at it. And who was the best at it? Muay Thai. So in my gym, or in my town, Muay Thai, shameless plug here, KOH Muay Thai, if you're in Florida.
It's okay.
I do a quick plug because they've done so much for me. I love them.
That's awesome.
But I started training there, and I've been there for 5 years. They're like family to me. The karate club that I run is out of their gym. So they rent me space 1 day a week, and I teach karate out of it, and it's a good time. But yeah, so about 5 years for the Muay Thai. Maybe a long-winded answer.
That's okay, man, because I love stories, man, because I think everybody loves to hear how people get to where they are. You know what I mean? You see some big guys. Everyone's got a little bit of the same story, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And that's cool to hear everybody's story. So, no, it's not long-winded. Keep going, man. So now you did Muay Thai. That's where you are now. Now,
yes, sir.
Are you blending that in with karate also, or is it just all the MMA encompassed, right?
So my main things that because like I said previously, I've trained several things, but I don't claim a lot, right? Because I feel like it's because I've been doing it a long time. If someone was tell me like, oh, I claim this, and I've only been training it this long. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you did it for a couple months or a year, like that doesn't count. If you've been doing it for like 3+ years, anybody's been doing martial art for 3+ years, I consider you a practitioner of that martial art. But the only martial arts that I've done, like I said, for 3+ years, other than the grappling, because the thing is even though we were doing catch wrestling, I don't consider myself like a wrestler or a catch wrestler, because it was catch wrestling techniques for MMA. So I just consider that time just training MMA essentially. The Muay Thai, I definitely mix with my karate. So I from the beginning, even because I teach kickboxing as well at a local school, and I tell these kids, because they come from a point fighting background, which is not the background that I come from. I'm more of a kickboxing background with the karate, like I said, the American kickboxing. But I tell them, don't like throw away what you know for point fighting for kickboxing. Like, yes, it's a different sport, it's a different whatever, but like keep what you have. And that was my same approach to Muay Thai. Like, I'm not just going to completely throw away years of like everything that I've been doing. And
Absolutely.
Then just do the Muay Thai. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. I 100%, I blend the Muay Thai with the karate, and I have like I'm not like any good. I mean, I want to say I'm not any good. I'm very mid-level, I would say. Because it's the thing, when you
Yeah.
train with pros, you train with like guys that are like high-level competitors, it's like you
Yeah.
realize how in the middle that you are. I know I'm
You be a
good, but I
little
know
better.
I'm not, this is the bottom at the top. I'm
Yeah.
somewhere in the middle. I want to be realistic with myself. So
Right.
I'm saying, I would say, if I'm advocating for myself, the arts, because the thing is even though people associate that karate style a lot with that sideways kind of stance fighting,
Yeah. The
karate
hop arounds. Yeah.
they don't realize that karate was initially a very clinch fighting art. If you look at the kata, there's a lot of situations where you're grabbing, elbowing, kneeing, tripping, sweeping, that sort of thing.
Yes.
But
Yes.
people
That's
don't
old
train
school.
karate like that. Okinawan
No.
karate, like that's how it was. But people don't train it like that, so that's kind of been lost. So now everybody thinks karate is that side, which is not bad. I mean, it's a great way to fight. But I do that. I do a lot of that sideways point fighting kind of style. But I'm also doing Muay Thai. Then I'm also doing the kind of old school karate. It's almost like a blend between two. So you got the Muay Thai
Okay.
and you side stands, and then there's almost like a blend that happens when you train karate in that sort of way when you're analyzing the kata and actually doing the drills from them and stuff. Because you realize, like I said, it's a very clinch
Right.
fighting heavy art that ties exactly in with what you're doing in the Muay Thai and what you're doing with whatever. I attribute Muay Thai to a lot because it helped me to open my eyes to that kind of thing. Because there's already this
Okay.
like
Yeah.
practical karate movement where people are trying to bring back this way of training and analyzing the forms, because it's like we don't do these for no reason. They were created for a reason. Like there's not just like
Exactly.
to look pretty, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's already been a movement, and so I was already somewhat a part of that movement from the very beginning. Like the original school that I came from, there was a big emphasis on there's bunkai, there's oyo. What you're doing here means something. It's not just like we look pretty and we're doing it for a tournament. So
Yeah.
Muay Thai helped me to get a lens to see karate in a different way. And because of that,
Okay.
I attribute the Muay Thai to helping me make my karate better, weirdly enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty good, man. Because most times you say you see someone doing different martial arts or different styles. I think it all encompasses one. When you have separate ones, you bring them all to one. It's just how you defend yourself. Because if you get thrown on your back, you can fight off your back. You learn that from catch can or whatever it is. You learn to, wrestling or whatever it is. You're standing up with a guy, you know how to punch, kickboxing, regular boxing, Muay Thai, all that kind of stuff. And I think, when we start segmenting martial arts or different styles away from each other, I think there's weaknesses. You know what I mean? Because I've always believed in, like my instructor, Sensei Swine, when I first learned, my first instructor I had in Kodokan Jiu Jitsu, his philosophy was every art has weaknesses, right? Every one of them. I don't care how bad you are, how good you think you're tough, everything else. Every art has weaknesses. He says, find one that's your base and go fill those holes with other arts so you can make yourself a complete fighter. So that's essentially what you've been doing. You have your base. Let's say your base is karate or Muay Thai. You're filling those holes with everything else.
Yeah, I would definitely say my base is karate. I'm definitely a karateka in my heart at the end of the day. Like I said, I love Muay Thai and it's done a lot for me, but I've just been doing karate since I was, a little kid. Like on career day, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a police man. Like I want to be a karate instructor. You know what I mean? So it's like karate.
What?
100% what you're saying is true. Funnily enough, this is not even something that I consciously did. I wasn't like, well, I can do this, so now I need to pick up this. I'm just so incredibly blessed that my life has been a series of this kind of just naturally happening from what I picked up, or because at the end of the day, my dad put me in martial arts initially. He's the one that initially taught me. So he's the one that established that base when I was 3 years old, learning how to throw a punch, kick, whatever, you know what I mean? So I would definitely say, being able to mix the two is fantastic, and those are the main two that I would claim, I guess. But having the mixed martial arts approach to your training is just the way to go, and it's so fun. I don't know if you've ever done mixed martial arts training where you're striking and grappling at the same time.
Oh yeah,
it's so fun. It's the most fun stuff, because you'll sit there in the Muay Thai and you have the upper body grappling to a sense because you can do the clinch, but you can't like grapple. There's no takedowns, there's no throw.
Right, you can limit their movements. Yeah.
Same thing in jiu-jitsu class. It's like, you'll be in a position where it's like, I could punch you in the head right here. You know what I mean? Funnily enough, that kind of goes into the sport thing that we were talking about, how in the traditional martial arts, you see the sportifying of arts kind of downgrade the self-defense aspect. And it's starting to happen in jiu-jitsu too, where it's like, you'll have these guys that are like incredible, but they don't have any standing techniques. They don't know any throws. They don't know any defenses, weirdly enough. And this is no hate to the gym that I went to. But when I was in the jiu-jitsu gym, because of my wrestling background, it took, and this is not me flexing, this is just honest, it took up to a brown belt to be able to take me down. And I don't feel like that should be the case. Now, this place wasn't like a sport place. It was more like family-friendly place. But I had the same experience with like sport jiu-jitsu people At a lower level, higher level guys, I'm sure they've been working on the wrestling and they, beat my ass. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's
I feel you.
when you sportify a certain art, it starts to have like holes in what it's doing. And I don't remember how I made that transition, so I apologize. But it
That's
just
all right,
reminded me
brother.
of
We go bounce around.
maybe I'll just talk about anything. I'll forget about the last thing I talked about. Where are we at?
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. You know, my buddy Lou, he owns Aces Training Center out there in Round Lake, Illinois. Another plug, but he's out there and he does wrestling also with his students. But he does wrestling because he always believes that a good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner needs to have some wrestling in there.
Yeah.
Wrestling is a phenomenal defense sport. Everything. I think they're probably the wrestlers and judokas are probably the most toughest guys in my opinion. This is my opinion. Traditional guys that are just really tough and they can put the grind in it. You know what I mean? Am I saying that right? They can put the grind in, man.
The wrestling culture that you find, it's very grind heavy, and those guys are
Yeah.
so the like I said, the catch wrestling experience that I had, those guys that taught it to me were also like freestyle wrestlers or whatever you do in like school, like high school wrestlers. You know what I mean? Head coach was also a high school coach, and so we did wrestling room styled workouts, and they are the
Oh yeah.
toughest workouts I've ever done in my life. I've done, and we did Muay Thai, we did
Oh
a little
yeah.
Jiu Jitsu, we did all this. I
Yeah.
tried that little. Wrestling was the hardest thing, and maybe that's just like a me thing, but
Yeah.
it's like the constant up and the
No.
down, the up, down, the up
You're
and
not
down.
by yourself, man. That is brutal.
Man, they're flipping you.
Yeah.
It's like, you're doing the drills where someone jumps on your shoulders and you have to like carry them around, and it's like only in the,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh man.
So those guys are tough as nails. I mean, I don't know if the numbers reflect this at this point, because as time goes on, there's guys who are a little bit, more versed in other styles. But that's why the most UFC champions have had a base in what? Wrestling. You know what I mean? They have that
Wrestling.
grind that surpasses a
Yeah.
lot of people's just work ethic, and it's insane. So
Oh yeah.
shout out to all the wrestlers out there. You guys are awesome.
Man, I'm telling you, these guys have that extra level, and like, I've told the story a million times. But when I was at college on the judo team, once a month we work out with the wrestlers there at Iowa State, and they had some brawlers and wrestlers. They would clean our clocks every month, and we had to do that wrestling with. And they would teach us how to have that extra push because you think I'm going to get you on the ground like judo. We're going to throw you and just dance around. Man, these guys grinded us out. This is probably the hardest work I've ever done in my life, man. Just
Yeah.
wrestling, man. And they have that look in their eyes, like when they look like you got them when they're tired. They're not tired.
Mhm.
They're just going to that next level. And I'm like, I hate you guys so much. Yeah, man.
Like wrestling and grappling is always what kills my cardio anyways, right? Because at the karate club that I do, the type of sparring that we do is more akin to MMA sparring, because I want to try to make it more, like as realistic as possible. I'm not, we're going to sit there and point fight. So, you'd be sitting there striking all day, and, I'm primarily a striker, and so, like, I'm doing rounds, and I'm fine, and the second we start grappling, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, and then these guys, rounds of just, like, grinding, and you're like, how the heck is that even possible? But yeah, those wrestlers have it different, and, you trained judo in a time where they were allowed leg grabs and stuff, right? Because I know a lot of judo players don't
Yeah.
teach the wrestling
Yeah.
takedowns anymore because they're not. I mean, I think the rules. I'm not a judoka and I don't like follow judo super heavy, but I know at some point they took away the wrestling because a lot of wrestlers were coming in and kind of dominating in judo.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
to keep that from happening, they took away the double leg. They took away certain techniques that the wrestlers were excelling in. So it just goes to show you, like, yeah, if they go whatever they go into and decide to do, it's probably going to do well.
They're stopping people, man, left and right, man. But then again, I think that could be what. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that's because of that work ethic that we were talking about, that grind that they have. It's not necessarily
absolutely.
physically what they can do, but that mentality that they apply to other things, And that's just not,
it's
that's
that
not
mental
specific to
grind.
wrestling. That's a martial arts thing. If you're a hard training martial artist, like that's how you're going to approach things. And that's one of the non-physical things that martial arts gives you, is that ability to just kind of like keep chopping, keep chopping, keep chopping, keep chopping. That
Yes.
tree's eventually gonna, whatever goal you have, small intentional efforts equal success. At the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter how much you stink. If you have enough time and a good practice and it's intentional and you got a good coach, like, you're gonna get better. Like, that's just how it goes. And I think that's
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just think every like we were saying there, I think that every school or every style, we branched off to make these styles so individualistic that they don't blend very well. And I don't know if that's a financial thing. They go, because we have a karate school, we have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, we have a Muay Thai school, we have all these different things. But if you combine them all, it's a great system. You know what I mean?
I think it's a marketing thing that probably happened back in the day, where it's like we do this and this is what sets us apart. We're not like them. This is our thing, when in
Yeah.
reality, the best schools are the ones that have a primary flavor and then they got a little sprinkle of something else in there. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're
Yes. Yeah.
saying like you guys are a jiu-jitsu school, but you also do a judo class, so you guys can throw. Like there's like the mixing,
Yeah.
or you maybe once a week where you put the gloves on. Like I know in like a Gracie Combatives type class, where you're putting on some gloves and simulating punches. Like just schools that have that sort of thing. This is purely my opinion, usually add more value to what you're learning. If you're not like a sport
Yeah.
competitor, which if you are, fantastic. I have nothing against that. That's amazing. You know what I mean? I actually encourage it. But if you're approaching martial arts in a self-defense kind of way, or basically learn how to fight, be a full kind of more rounded fighter, the gyms that have that are always going to be more appealing to me. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's specifically in the karate world, you see it a lot. And I come from a Shotokan, so the original,
Shotokan. Oh my gosh.
yes,
Yeah.
the original style went by, it was a different name. They called it Shurite. It was an offshoot of a specific style, and it was an eclectic style. So the gym kind of put like everything together, and then they called it that.
Okay.
And nothing against these people. It was actually fantastic training, but history-wise, Shurite is a umbrella term. So in Okinawa, when karate was first developed, there was the three main areas where it came from. Shuri, Naha, and Tomari. The Shurite just meant the te, or the fighting techniques, or the fighting philosophy that came out of the Shuri area. So it's more like Shurite is an umbrella term, and then there were styles and families that fell under that Shurite.
Okay. Yeah.
Too much into it, but the name was called that. And then when I left that, I picked up Shotokan, and because the reason I picked up Shotokan specifically is because it was kind of the opposite. Even though the training was very similar, it was very eclectic, and there was like only 2 or 3 schools on the planet that this guy had trained with that you could go to and also do the same thing. But with Shotokan, it's very, very popular. So it meant that I could travel and go anywhere that I want and find a gym and be able to keep up and do what they were doing. So that's one of the reasons I picked it up. Other being, I like the history of it. I like the way they move. I like the way they fight. I think it added a lot to when I picked it up to what I can do, specifically the way I'm able to blitz and stuff now. Like they're very, very fast, and the way that they train. Not a big fan of like the specific point fighting that they get into, especially nowadays, like the WKF. Back in the day, the JK
The 1,
style,
2, and then out.
they were cracking each other pretty hard back in the day, but nowadays it's like
yeah, ass kicking, man.
Respect to those guys, like those athletes. It's just not my cup of tea when it comes to training.
Oh, I get it, man. I tell you, back in the day, of course, I'm going back to the day. The Shotokan used to have such a reputation of training their bodies really tough, so they can take blows and take kicks, take all these things. So when we see these tournaments, open tournaments, every style comes in, and back then you'd see the same guys we're fighting every week, every other week at different locations, and you see the same guys pretty much. And you knew that if you step across the mat at a Shotokan guy, you just can't come straight at him and hit him here, hit him here. You got to take the legs out and do all kinds of stuff, because these guys built their bodies up. It was phenomenal. I loved it, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So I never, so I'm young enough where the open tournaments, or like, there was a lot of Shotokan guys in the open tournaments back in the days, but you saw a lot of them stop and just start going to their own associations and stuff like that. And
yeah, they sure did. Yeah.
There's pretty good representatives of every, you had the Taekwondo guys, you had the Shotokan guys, you had the Goju guys, the Kempo guys, whatever, and they all kind of brought something. Nowadays, it's kind of just general point fighting, which is good because, like I said, when you hyper-focus onto a sport, you become really good at it, and they all start fighting in a very kind of similar way. And it's funny because Shotokan did the same thing, but within their own associations, because you have the point fighting kumite, which is like the WKF. One guy's wearing the white or the red gloves, the other guy's wearing the blue gloves. They're both in a white gi. These guys yell a lot, those guys.
But bounce around, yeah.
That's open style point fighting that stemmed from the history of those open tournaments in the West, and those guys are the ones like the where MVP and Raymond Daniels come from. Those types of fighters. Where it's more colorful. They're more, their hands are down. They're kind of, they're moving. They're flowing more. They're doing more like spin techniques, that sort of thing. So it's just cool to see how. It's cool. It's interesting to see how those sports kind of divulge when practitioners of a certain style are just like, now we're going to go do our own thing, versus like we're going to stay with you guys. Because back, like you said, it was literally everybody. Like you knew if you were if you saw a certain patch from a certain school or a certain style, you knew that they were going to fight a certain way.
Exactly. Exactly. But I look at all the different arts now, and I've been really focusing on not doing, but watching a lot of Sambo. Sambo is what a traditional, if you look at it, it's traditional martial arts, traditional old school fighting. They got throws, punches, kicks, grappling. They have it all. You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that is beautiful, man. I watched it over the years, but now I've been more focused on it. You know, coming through watching some of it, I'm like, these guys are phenomenal.
Yeah, they're fantastic. So a lot of with the type of karate training that I like to do a lot of like gi oriented stuff. Even though I'm not like a gi grappler, I do think there's certain interpretations of the kata movements where you are possibly grabbing a sleeve or a lapel or doing a throw or that sort of thing instead of
Yeah,
it being like a no situation. And I think that's super interesting because the to be considered a traditional martial art a lot of the times, in my opinion, even Sambo follows something like this, or even Muay Thai, where people usually don't consider a traditional martial art, but you're just following the tradition of where that martial art came from. So you're wearing a certain thing, you're using certain words or certain parts of the
yeah,
culture that you replicate, you know? And so
I
it's
get you.
interesting. Some traditions, you know, why is this considered a traditional martial art? It's this one's not. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's like because you'd say that people would disagree, like, oh, Sambo or Muay Thai or this, that's not traditional martial arts. But in my opinion, if you're following the traditions of a certain group that created this martial art, even to a small degree, like oh, I forget what they call their jackets, but the gi jackets that they wear, if you're wearing one of those and
Yeah,
you're wearing your little shorts and your wrestling shoes, like that's a traditional
yeah,
martial art at the end of the day, you know? The non-traditional martial in my opinion, are the ones you see where that, you know, the kickboxing, the boxing, the MMA, where it's like they still hold the values sometimes of traditional martial arts. I'm not downplaying them at all because I enjoy those sports. There's a lot, I think the traditional martial arts list is a lot longer than people because they usually go kung fu, karate, and taekwondo. And it's like, there's more
right,
than that.
right,
Following
right.
the tradition, like I said, of a specific group
Yeah,
that created the martial art. You're doing a traditional martial art.
yeah. You know, and I get that. You know, and maybe I'm saying tradition. I'm using traditional too loosely. I should say when I say tradition, in my opinion, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No, no. What I'm seeing is just, you know, it's well rounded. It's, you know, they have. There's not just a judo. You know, you have because you look at sambo, they're throwing, they're kicking, they're punching. So when I say, I guess when I
Mhm.
say tradition, I mean like a fighting style. You know, a straight fighting style, ground up, everything. You know, and it's really cool. You know, because it's just not like we said, taekwondo is just kicking.
I was like, yeah, it's Sambo. Those guys are tough. I mean, they, like you said, they're kind of covering everything. It's essentially MMA, you know what I mean? But with
Yeah,
more
it is.
traditional aspect too. Like I was agreeing with you that I would consider myself a traditional art because it follows the traditions of Russia and where it came from and the people that developed it, and even the competition style. Because that's to me, that's what's the difference between besides wearing the gi and the shoes and whatever. What's the difference between combat sambo and MMA? One's kind of traditional, the other one's not. The one's kind of an open sport situation, you know.
Right, right.
But
I get what you're saying. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
pulling a lot of sambo stuff when it comes to like the gi, when it comes to like, oh, they're kicking it,
Yeah,
grab here and you grab the lapel and you can throw it here. Like I've stolen some stuff, and you know, because that's the thing too. As a
yeah.
martial artist, you can't be so dogmatic that you refuse to look outside of the traditions or the gym that you're a part of, and
Bingo,
that's your
bingo.
ability that
Yeah,
keeps you down. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to
yeah.
excel as a martial, become a better fighter, or just what, and you're just in your bubble, it's just not going to work. You know. And I feel like that can apply not just to martial arts, but kind of like anything, you know, like whether it's, you know, this club, this church, that church, whatever, just being able to have an open mind and be like, okay, well, we all have the same core of what we're trying to do. Let me look at it from this lens, that, and then, you know, then I can make a proper decision on what I want to train or what I want to do or opinions to have on that sort of thing. Because a lot of times, specifically because I make content on TikTok, there's so many people where it's like they'll comment something and it's like, what do you train? And then they'll just say one thing, and it's like, well, that's why you've only been in that culture.
Yeah,
You've only
that's
been.
why you think this way. Yeah.
It is your highest level thing, and it's just like, okay, that's not. I don't want to say that's not the real world, but it's not to a certain extent. That there's a big world of martial arts out there, and to be able to
Oh,
enjoy
yeah,
all of them and take
absolutely.
every single one is where it's at for sure,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
You're not wrong at all. You're not wrong at all. Now, how do you handle this? I mean, do you handle this where you go to different, let's say your base is karate and you know you have kicks, you have punches, you have certain throws and all that. And so if you go into Muay Thai, do you have problem or I hope I asked this correctly, have a challenge with forgetting your karate side, I'm here to learn Muay Thai. So if I see them do a kick a certain way or a knee or whatever, I can't change it in my head and say, well, no, we do this in karate, so I'm going to do it this way. You follow me? Or are you able to wipe that slate clean and start over new?
That's a great question. The way that I approach it is I do it as Muay Thai as possible because I know when I fight, it's not going to be like that. So I have to, if
Okay.
I want to get it, even a resemblance of it down, I have to be super duper strict with the way that they're doing it because I know when I'm using it in sparring, it's not going to be
Gotcha.
exactly that. So it's almost like I hyper make sure, you know, I'll throw a little of my own sauce in there just to whatever, you know, because everybody's an individual and I'm not trying to completely copy somebody. But when it comes to like guard wise, like say we're doing some high guard stuff. Like here, I generally don't fight here. I'm more of a hands-on type person, but it's like we're doing some stuff. We're coming here so that we can throw elbows, so that we can do whatever. I'm gonna do that. If the time comes and I need to be able to pull it out of my bag, I can. I feel like
Yeah.
you do yourself a disservice in a way if it's like, no, this is the way that I do it. I'm just gonna do it my way, and it's like. Or you could do it with the people that are highly proficient. You're never gonna
Exactly.
so you're probably never gonna be doing it exactly like them anyways. But you might as well train yourself to try, so that there's some resemblance of it when you're sparring. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's led me to be able to adapt Muay Thai within the last 5 years pretty quickly. I would say I would, because I didn't have a straight karate style anyways. Like I come from a kickboxing background, so I had pretty okay hands. I would say the thing that I had to adjust to the most was the clinch for sure. The amount of leg kicks that they do was just way more than we did. Knees, elbows, that sort of thing. But I would say I didn't really have a hard time adjusting because I was strict with like, no, you're going to do it like them. So that when the time comes to sparring, you can do your thing and do their thing, and then it just kind of mix, and then it just becomes me. You know what I mean? Now at this point, it's just the way I am. I wouldn't, unless I was like specifically like fight like a Thai or fight like a karate guy. You know what I mean? If it's spar, it looks like a mix of the two naturally.
Yeah, and that's smart though. That's really smart. I think you learn better that way because, when I went through all the different arts, I think I was blessed with this. I can wipe that slate clean, and I'll do exactly what you're teaching me. Even though in my head I may say, well, and Kodokan, we never grabbed that way, or our foot wasn't here. But you're here to learn this style, right? So you're here to add to your thing. And then when it's all said and done, you add it to your base, right?
Yeah.
So you take what you want and you put it in and fill those holes. Like Sensei Smiley said, fill those holes, man. That's pretty cool, man. You're doing that. So you just got a promotion also. Am I correct?
No, not really. What do you mean by promotion?
Oh, well, you just got promoted to teach promoted to teach a class now. Teach a different class you were talking about before.
Oh, so I didn't get promoted. So what happened is I now have a job opportunity because I teach my club once a week, the karate club, and that's Florida Karate Jiu-Jitsu. Another plug right there if you want to go check that out.
All right, got it. We'll take them all.
We have a certain amount we got to hit per if we want to get paid by the ad companies,
There you go.
Who are they? No, they're not giving us money. Anyways, Florida Karate Jiu-Jitsu, that's my club. I do that once a week. But I was hired as like an outside coach to come in and teach kickboxing at a different karate place. So I'm not a part of their gym. I mean, I am now because I'm one of their coaches.
Well, that's to me a promotion, man. That's not a belt promotion, but that's a level up, man. They know what you're doing something well, so you brought you in.
Yeah. You know what? And that's a testament to them. Shout out to them, Kaufman's Karate, Spring Hill. If you're in Spring Hill, Florida, check them out.
I love it.
Listen, I've had so many. I would never be able to do this on my own. So anytime I have a chance to give love to somebody that's helped me and
yeah, I feel you, brother.
To a certain extent, or has brought me to this point, like I'm gonna give them some love. But yeah, they had brought me in, because the thing that I was impressed about was the head instructor, how he had so little of an ego that he was able to look to himself and be like, I know how to fight. I know how to kickbox to a certain extent. And, he was a point fighter, but like, I need to bring somebody in. There's a lot of coaches who won't do that, and they'll stifle their students because they don't want to admit that they're not very good at something. You'll find a, weird example, but a jiu-jitsu school where it's like, everybody's doing leg locks now, but your coach doesn't know anything, but his ego's too big to be like, oh, I need to learn new things, or I need to go train with new people, or maybe have a person teach a leg lock class, like, because I'm an all-knowing person in my gym, and there's the fact that this
I get it.
The owner of this place had called me in, and when we were talking, and it's just like, no, I needed to bring someone in because I'm doing as much as I can for my students, but I know it's not enough. And even though I'm not anything crazy, he knows my background in the kickboxing, the Muay Thai, whatever, and was one, smart enough, but like two, so little of an ego that he was just like, no, I need to bring someone else in. So shout out to them. Yeah. Man. So it's definitely I've had 2026 has been very good. I've had a lot of, even being with you here today, it's just been like one thing kind of after the other of like starting my club class, and then teaching over there, and more social media opportunities and meeting people and creating content. And like I just had one of these creators, I'm not gonna name drop anybody, but like hit me up and say they want to make content, and that I'm really blessed this year, and I really like it all, and it's a lot. And I'm not a religious guy. Shout out to God, shout out to the universe. At the end of the day, I couldn't do any of this by myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you're right. I like your mindset. It's such a young. I keep saying such a young age, man. You're 27. You're not that young. No, you're crossing with old fart soon.
I know, right? That's my choice. I feel old after every class now.
Oh my God, tell me about it, man. I mean. And usually, most time, I'm usually the oldest guy on the mat, when I go out there and train with guys and stuff. And I love it, though. I love it because I love everyone saying, you don't look your age, or you don't move like your age. And I'm like, you know what? They say black don't crack, but it does
Hey,
swell. You know what I mean? So, well,
I need that for us.
there you go. But it's always
I'm
fun
just
though,
saying,
man. I love.
grappling to me, I mean, I'm always very impressed by older guys that still do jujitsu because I've never gotten more sore in my joints or like injured feeling. And I do Muay Thai, like people beat the hell out of me, but when it comes to like joint pain and like muscle
Yeah,
pain and that kind of jujitsu always
yeah,
made me feel the most. So whenever I see an older gentleman that's still, you know what I mean, not that you're an old fart or anything, but a guy
I
that's
feel it.
past his still training, you know what I mean? It
Yeah,
impresses me. I'm like,
yeah.
dang, I don't know if I want to do that.
Or they say you want to be the old guy in a dangerous sport or something like that, or whatever that saying goes. You know, I tell you, I think Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is great, and I don't put it on this huge pedestal. It's great. It's a great older guy art because you're not punching, you're not really throwing, you're not doing those
Yeah.
damage. You know, I've done all the damage to my body from Kodokan Jiu Jitsu, was a Japanese, from
Mhm.
judo. I did Muay Thai for 8 years, and I did Kondo. I did all those things, and my body's beat up for them. So I take Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. It's a great art. It's my way to stay, in my mind, I won't say relevant, but I want to stay on the mat and still feel like I'm getting something done. You know what I mean?
We want longevity as a martial artist, you know what I mean? You can't, I'm sure you're like me, you can't go one day without thinking about martial arts, you know what I mean? I wake up in the morning, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, martial arts, you know what
Oh,
I mean?
absolutely. It's on my mind. Yeah.
Putting yourself off to that because you're a certain age is just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, no.
That's silly to me. So it makes sense that a lot of guys pick up martial arts in a later age that used to train martial arts back in the day. Maybe it's the way I approach martial arts. Maybe it's too much like a wrestler and I hurt myself because I'm spazzing too much. I have no idea.
No, once you get an injury this side, you slow it down and use that side. You'll be fine.
I mean, that's after I tore my ACL and my meniscus, I went back to because what happened is around so September 2024, I had torn my ACL and I bucket handled, or I tore my meniscus. It was a partial tear. And then I trained on it for about 8 to 9 months and continued grappling, continued doing things, doing it. And then I tore it really bad, you know what I mean? So because the ACL is already gone basically, but then the meniscus turned from a small tear to a bucket handle tear. And so it flapped into the, I couldn't bend my leg. I had to get surgery, and that was on
Oh,
April 8th, 2025. So I've been dealing with that injury actually the last little bit, kind of, trying to get mobility back, trying to move back to what I was doing
man.
before. I would say I'm probably only at about 70%, which is like ironic because it's almost like I didn't start making content until I was injured. So it's like I don't need,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I don't have this
You're
like
like,
full
damn
version.
it.
But I was like, no, I have to do it now, because I recorded myself like the lead up and the surgery and like the stuff afterwards. No one really watched it, but it's okay. Like I can go back and watch the document of it of like
There
what
you go.
happened. Those kind of injuries kept me from doing certain things. Like I love grappling, but I haven't grappled obviously since that point because it's such a, for me anyways, like I said, maybe it's the way I'm approaching it, like a dumbass or something. But I think also I've been striking for so long that it's very second nature. Grappling to me is still like I'm learning something new. I need to learn how to put my energy fully like into the right direction. I don't want to like spaz too much or like too much strength or like don't want to be too, you know what I mean? But striking,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just not that I'm highly
Yeah.
proficient or anything. Just I've been doing it for so long that I can do it for hours and hours and hours versus and not get injured versus something like. So
Oh, yeah.
Muay Karate is really the only thing I've been doing since I've been recovering. I
I
would like
get
to
it,
get back to
man.
grappling for sure.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. And if I can give you any advice as an old guy to a young guy coming through the ranks, take time off when you have an injury. It's not the days of rub dirt in it and go back and fight. You know what I mean? Take some time out, let your body heal. Because I know that itch, man. I know that itch when you're on the couch for maybe a week trying to get there. You're probably driving yourself crazy. I got to go do something, right?
Well, yeah, you know what, I'm a little, like I said, I can't not train, so I in the smartest way possible trained as much as I can. If you anybody listening, or if you want to go back and anybody look at my social media from that time, I was literally in my gi in a stool in my straight brace, like punch like sitting like I am now, like inside in a room, like with my full gi on,
Oh,
just like
man.
punching and kicking and like being able to shadow box in place and like going through my forms, and I'm not going around. I'm sitting in a chair like this, but I'm thinking as I'm doing them and just doing the
Okay. Well,
pattern
that's
and
not
stuff.
horrible, man. That's not bad at all.
Well, I mean, it was horrible in the sense that I really wanted to get up and do it, but I couldn't bear weight on that leg. I think for 8 weeks
Yeah.
is what it was. So I couldn't technically walk. I had the tripod either with the with the one leg and the two crutches, or
Yeah.
I had to hop around. So once I was able to start walking, I went back pretty quick to the, because I've been doing martial arts long enough where I can go and like not overexert myself, and I don't have a big enough ego where it's like I have to do it. Like I can just sit down and
Yeah.
watch and be a part of it. And that's one of the things
Yeah.
I feel blessed being raised in martial arts is it feels very second nature in that sense, because there's a lot of people where if they can't go hard, if they can't train good, they just won't go at
Yeah.
all. Which I think is a
Right,
mistake
right.
sometimes. You shouldn't go and participate and hurt yourself. No, that's not what I'm saying. But you should be able to go and check it out and chill, talk to people, be within the culture, be within the school,
yeah.
talk to people, because it's like you don't talk to your friends. You know what I mean? You're gonna feel a little crazy, like, oh, I've been in 8 weeks. The only people I ever talk to, I'm just going to work, and then you're messing up your brain because you have no social interaction.
Yeah.
And things that it leads to. So I think my advice, anyway, obviously take off time, but sometimes just be there, just sit on the edge of the mat, watch everybody. You don't got to roll with anybody.
I love
Maybe
it.
if you're doing a drill where you don't have to do something, where it's like, oh, I'm just gonna sit here and everybody's going blitz in 1-2, hit the kick. Maybe I'm just gonna sit here and just with somebody 1-2 in the air, or they're just gonna hold
Yeah.
it for me, or maybe I'm just gonna sit on my back and guard, not close guard because I can't close my legs because my knee is messed up.
Close your
Maybe,
leg.
and maybe kind of like do an assist. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's something about having a good culture within the gym too, is people helping you out with
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I
That's
feel
true.
blessed with the Muay Thai, where when I came back, I had a bunch of people being like, no, like don't touch him, like everybody be nice with him, please. That's one of our guys. Because of that, I feel like if you get yourself established within a gym or that culture, that people will take care of you.
Oh yeah,
So-
I love it, man. Yeah, because I know the times I've been injured, I always go to the gym. I'll sit there. I don't do anything, but I'll sit around that environment. I like what you said, that environment, just so everybody knows I'm still the old man, still showing up. I'm sitting on the side, not doing anything, but I'm still watching. You can learn while you watch. You still can do that too. But I like what you're saying. Yeah, man.
You thought you took me out with that injury. I'm studying you now. I'm just seeing how to put you out next.
I always know. They call me the tapper. I don't study anybody. I just go in and start tapping. As soon as they look at me, I tap. I'm out. I'm okay. I'm okay. Oh man, that's one thing. I have no ego in that regard, man. I'll tap in a heartbeat. I don't, because once again, you get old enough. You've done all the things you want to do in your life. There's, like you were saying earlier, there's no ego in it. So I really do train just having fun, man. I just roll with guys. I have fun. I'm the guy that's laughing. I probably talk too much while I'm down there. Talking smack too much, but
Yeah. I feel like I sometimes it maybe comes from nerves though. Like how they say Spider-Man, the reason he talks crap to all the villains because he's actually nervous. Maybe that's the same thing. Maybe I'm just like,
it could be.
trying to
It
make
could be, man. It still works. It
Yeah,
could be that, man. That's
it's
good
just gonna
stuff,
lead
man.
to like if you're injured, obviously if you're already injured and you're trying to go hard, it's like, are you trying to get yourself out for longer? Like you have for example, there was that UFC fighter that had he had gotten COVID and he continued to train and he almost died. And it's like, dude, like, what,
crazy.
you want to die or do you want to like get better? Like, why? Like, you continuing to train
Right.
to make you more badass, or like or more likely to win the title. You know what I mean? Like, you're you're gonna be winning the title if you rest and then come back to training and don't be
Exactly. But that's that ego we talk about. There's ego involved in that. They want to show that they're tough, and I just think we got that all wrong, man. Give yourself some time to heal, man. You'll be fine. No one's gonna look at you and say he's out with COVID, so he's a loser. No, come on, not that. No,
Yeah.
I may say that, but I'm just joking.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think people they care a little too much what other people think sometimes too, and then other
Yeah.
people. I think when you use martial arts as a like not I don't want to say a cope, but it's something that really helps with your mental health. You'll find people that continue to train because they're like, obviously the example of the UFC fighter, that's because he's at the highest level of competition. But when I'm talking about like people will continue to train even though they're injured, it's almost like because it helps them mentally so much they can't give it up. It's like, dude, I understand, but like I understand you're gonna feel crazy being at home for the day or for the week, whatever, but you need to. Like, you go take an ice bath, go drink your water, go eat your protein, go do what you got to do, and just chill.
Yeah.
Too many people kill their longevity, and then they're really, really injured, and then they never pick it up again. And then there's this thing that helped you your entire life that you're never gonna do again or touch or whatever, and then. Or might even be a decline in your life because now you're super injured because you went back and you're not training anymore. So now you're just at this level of like, what the heck,
Exactly. Now, what kind of nutrition are you doing? Any kind of special nutrition that you train with? Do you have like diet plan to use, or are you just eating junk food and drinking water all day and just killing everybody?
I know the water. I keep sipping it every 5 seconds. So it's basically A lot of water, yeah. So I'm not incredibly strict on the weekends. So what I'll do is I'll be pretty strict during the week, and then the weekends I'll just kind of do whatever. So I just had pizza yesterday. My brother and his fiance came over, or no, they're married now. I was in the wedding. How did I forget that? So my brother and my sister-in-law and their kids came over, and we had pizza and stuff like that. So I'm not like the type of person who doesn't want to have fun, but I'm also pretty strict during the week on trying to get my macros, trying to get enough water, trying to get whatever. I'm not like so strict where it's like, no seasoning and we're just chicken and rice every day. I'm still having my little protein stacks. I'm still having if I can fit it, you know what I'm saying? If I can track it and I can fit it.
Okay.
Like I like martial arts is my life, but I also lift weights. Like that's one of the things. Like I'm currently sitting at 190 pounds, but I graduated high school 10 years ago now this year, oh my God, at 155 pounds. So it's like I put on a decent amount of weight just purely from lifting. I don't have a six pack, so like, a lot of that's cheeseburgers probably helped a little bit with that. But
there you go.
Because of the amount of lifting that I do and because of martial arts training, I have like I there's no choice. Like I do that. If I don't do that, my sleep quality is gonna be really bad. I'm not gonna recover. I'm not gonna be able to do the things that I love. So it's almost like I have to not force myself because it comes easy, but if I don't do it, you get what I'm saying? Like if I don't, then my body's gonna go. So I have to make sure that I'm pretty strict during the week, just because I'm training and I'm teaching, and when you're doing both, like it's you got to stay on point for sure. You got to stay on point.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to get injured because I'm doing my own training and then mess it up for my students. You know what I mean? Like, I can't come to class myself because I was being egotistic, whatever. Ego is not necessarily a bad thing. We need a small amount of ego to advocate for ourselves. I think to being able to I think the ego initially was developed like in the human psyche or whatever. Obviously, I'm no doctor, so obviously I'm just talking about it here. But it was created to advocate for yourself so that you survive. You know what I mean? So it's like being a little bit selfish or thinking more highly of yourself so that you can be and get into better situations where you're more likely to survive. You know what I mean? And so I think having a small amount of that, like I have a big enough ego to where I take care of myself and I know who I am and I'm confident. But then you see people hyperinflate that, and it's just that's not where it is.
Yeah.
But just going back.
Well, that's when people hyperinflate that ego. I think it's or they're covering for something. They're always covering something up.
Insecurities.
The loudest guy. Insecurities, my friend. Insecurities. You're absolutely right.
I've trained with people and coaches and stuff like that where it's you don't see it, and then the longer you're around them, you see why they act like that. It's like kind of a possible insecurity thing. And everybody has their insecurities, and that's okay. But being able to internalize that, turn that around, and then project that at other people is crazy. I've never understood that. Like I'm insecure about this, so I'm going to make sure you hear about it. And it's not even hearing about it because they'll just take it and then like, it's like when people get pissed off at you on the road, on their road rage, and it's like, well, he must have had a bad day. There's no way I made him that mad. Like that, I barely did anything. Like I didn't even cut him off or what, maybe I turned into a lane that he wanted, but he's going crazy. Like, I'm not even going to get out.
Yeah.
That goes like self-defense thing. I'm not going to get out and fight you because you're having a bad day and you had an argument with your wife or whatever. I'm not going to do that, but people will have insecurities or problems and then turn that around and then they boast themselves up by like, I'm going to hide this by being like, oh, blah, 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 blah about myself. And that's just not the way to go. Especially as a martial artist. When you find that within the realm of martial arts, it really irks me for sure because I'm the type of person where, like I said, because I've experienced people like that where I just don't play that shit and I can see it very easily now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I have a thing I ask those guys if I'm having a conversation or I see something happen and they're venting it on me, because I'm a smiley guy. I laugh all the time, you can tell. And I'll say, let me ask you, are you having a bad day, or is this indicative of a bad day or a bad life? And you wait, and they just sort of look at you like, what? I'm like, all right, you're having a bad day. So,
Well, it can be both too. I think that's another reason where, people don't like to put themselves in other people's shoes sometimes, where it's like, maybe this person did have a bad life. Maybe this person did have it rough. Maybe I'm not saying that's a justification for the way that they're acting, but it's a reason, you know what I mean? It's not a reason why they should continue, but it's a causation for the reason they act that way, So I feel like people don't put themselves in that position sometimes where it's like, oh, why are they talking like that? They hate me. It's like, maybe they had a shit life. Maybe they had a shit day. I'm not saying that they should treat you like that because of those reasons.
Right, but you never know. Yeah.
Think about this before, you know what I mean? Because then you start to internalize yourself. It's like, oh, what is my problem? What did I do? Like, why do they hate me? Why do I, whatever? And then it's at the end of the day, it's out. It has nothing to do with you,
Yeah, exactly. And I was sitting there thinking about some things that we talked about. We're bouncing all over the place, which I love these kind of conversations. No, but I love that, man. That's a true conversation. And I feel like people are and I have a thing I talk about a lot with me and my girl. We talk a lot about people. Most people are selfish, and it doesn't mean it's a negative, like they just want to hog things themselves. But most people think about themselves so much. When they're out there having these bad moments, they don't realize everybody's got some shit they're dealing with. So you putting your shit on somebody else is not helpful. You know what I mean? But that's that selfishness. I'm the only one dealing with this, so I have to handle it my way instead of realizing, you know what, I'm just having a bad day. This guy's probably having a shitty day too. Let me go on about my way. But that's
Yep.
that's a human selfishness. It really is. We're all selfish.
Yeah, I think you see a lot of that, and not to get into any like our society these days, but like you
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
people where it's a lack of empathy, where they can't put themselves in
That's
other
it.
people's shoes.
That's it,
They
man.
think
That's it.
maybe there's a reason that they're acting this way. Maybe there's a reason that they're whatever. Like, and not everything has to do with you, and that goes back to the not just this person, but the other person, where it's like, oh, why do they hate me? It's
Yeah.
like, stop being so selfish that you think everything's about you. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Maybe they're acting
Yeah.
this way because they have. Maybe their grandma just died. You have no idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's have a
Yeah.
little bit of more empathy for people and be able to put ourselves in their shoes, and maybe, and I'm not, like I said, these aren't justifications for people acting negatively or in a bad way, but
Absolutely
it's
not.
causation, and to be able to recognize that causation might make you step back and go, okay, let me form a more not calculated, but more education, not even education, just a better opinion about the situation, instead of instantly
Yeah.
just being like, oh, you said F you to me,
That
and I'm gonna say F you.
reactionary. Boom, boom. Yeah. Yeah.
Why did you? What's going on? Are you okay today? Like, you know what I mean? I'm not like the
Yeah.
most nice person in the world. I'm sure I would react a certain way if some random guy was just like, F you, you know what I mean? But I try
Yeah.
to uphold my way of doing things,
Yeah, I picked up the I'm laughing a lot, so I've been cursed out, yelled at, everything else, but I tend to see the laughing, and I know that doesn't help the situation, but that's just my personality. I just start laughing at you and moving on, and that usually pisses the guy off even more. And I'm like, I'm not trying to piss you off, but I just like laughing at you looking stupid. I'm going to go on about my day. You have a great day.
Most people, it is out of stupidity too. Luckily, I haven't had a lot of I've only had like two like street fight kind of situations happen in my life, thank God. And it was when I was a teenager, so as a grown man, I luckily have not been in a lot of situations where people have been trying me or doing that sort of thing, and I feel blessed
Yeah, that's a
in that
plus.
way. A lot of people, they got to deal with a lot of shit every day. I'm equipped to a certain extent to, if I had to deal with that. But my life is very, I don't want to say cushion, but I live a good life. You know what I mean? The area that I live in is
Yeah.
not rough. People from this area like to act like, oh, it's rough and we're gangsters, and it's like, no, you're not. Man, we're in New York. People are like, calm down, Jeffrey.
Right?
You gotta go back to
Yeah,
your best fight tomorrow. Like, let's take it easy.
right. Oh my gosh, yeah, man. I was born and raised outside Chicago, so I've seen enough fights, and it makes you. But seeing all that stuff, and you start to value life more. So you just, it's not that serious. You laugh at a guy and move on about your way, man. Because like you said, you're able to defend yourself. But I also know I'm not the baddest guy on the planet. I want to go home tonight too, so I don't fight with anybody. You know what I mean?
Well, plus, we live in the United States of America. Why would I get in a fight with anybody when they could pull out a pistol the size of my body and just
There
blow
you
a hole
go.
in me? I'm okay.
Well, like
Whatever, man.
like I
You
always
call
say,
it.
carry a bigger one.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, I'm an advocate for carrying as well. Yeah, for sure. But you never know. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, you don't always have your firearms, and people like to be silly and
Yeah.
whatnot. So that's my
Yeah.
my only argument against the firearm thing. Because I'm an advocate for it. Obviously, I'm I don't want to say obviously, but I am an advocate for personal carry, because people are crazy. But you don't always have it, and that's weirdly enough when I make content. People love. I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but because I'm on TikTok, I think I hear and see a lot of silly shit sometimes where people like comment, "Oh yeah, but what if I had my 9mm, or what if I had my gun?" I'm like, okay, yeah, you have a gun. Like, what are you talking about? Like, do you have that gun every single place that you go? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people do, but
A lot of people
to a
do.
bar, if you're going to a casino, if you're going into certain places where you're not allowed to carry a gun, if you're, you know what I mean, shit randomly pops up, you're gonna be able to do that. Like, no, that's why learning to fight is also good. Firearms are fantastic, but I also think you should have that plan B. Or plan A should really know how to fight. Plan B is the firearm. You should really have a base of like martial arts, in my opinion, of knowing how to fight, how to know to defend yourself. Because people will get guns to learn how to defend themselves, but then they're not training them. They don't train themselves. They just have it in their house, which is, I'm not gonna act like I don't do that. I'm not constantly going to the range and putting down. It's a little expensive to be throwing 200
Yeah.
rounds down the range a couple weeks, but
Yeah.
so I'm not gonna act like I'm one of these guys. But I'm also not one of those guys that's like, oh, I would have no problem because I constantly have my pistol on me. Like, it's just
Yeah,
okay.
no.
I say
No,
no,
that's
okay.
Yeah. See, but I'm that guy. I'm that guy that's I'm an ammo whore. So I go to the range a lot, and I blow through so much ammo, man. I love shooting, man. I got so many guns, and I love shooting, so I'm an ammo whore, man. I'll just spend an hour or 2 hours at the range just blowing through ammo, man.
I'll make sure
I
not to
train a
mess with
lot.
you. Chicago's
Yeah,
got
well,
them all.
no,
Yeah.
no, I don't. I conceal carry, but I don't do nothing. I'm that smiley guy. Like I said, I'm trying to get home, just like you are too. I just carry because they're nuts out there. That's it. That's it. I can be the best martial arts in the world, but if someone's out there with the pew pew or whatever it is, they have upper hand. You know what I mean?
Hey man, you
It
ain't
is
gotta
what
tell
it
me I'm
is.
from Florida. The specific area that I live in is pretty chill, but like the whole state is just everybody's a wackadoo around here, you know. So you gotta stay on your toes a lot of times because you never know what you're gonna experience.
Oh man. So what's next for you, man? What's next for you? What's coming down the pike for you?
My next thing is my black belt test. So I have my Shodan exam
Nice.
coming up. Weirdly enough, we had this whole conversation about my long, illustrious life in karate. I don't have a black belt yet, so I literally
That's
trained
okay.
at that.
And
Well, I trained in that original style. Well, I think you say that because you come from you do jujitsu now. I know you did traditional martial arts back in the day, but the Shodan, the initial judo Shodan, was supposed to represent like minimal, like you knew the basics. I mean, it was essentially like graduating high school, you know. And the gym
that's
that
it,
I went
man.
to
Yeah,
treated it more
showdown is
like
that's it. Yeah.
more in jiu-jitsu culture where it's like, hey, this takes like 10 years to get. And so I never
Yeah.
got to it. You know, they were just really kind of
Yeah,
strict
I
with
get
what
it.
you could do, the test and whatnot. I remember my dad's black belt test. It was that classic, like 6 hour long, doing 100,
Yeah.
300 push-ups.
Oh yeah. Whole day
And,
training, man.
and to me, I
Whole
can
day
understand that
testing.
farther level of black belt. But to me, the initial creation of the black belt by Jigaro Kano was literally supposed to represent like, oh, these are my senior guys. These are the guys that know what they're doing. You get that within 4 to 5 years. You know, you don't have to train a martial art, in my opinion, for 10 years to achieve that. So I switched from that original style to Shotokan, and I've been doing Shotokan since I left that gym. So it's been 5 years since I've been doing that. So I'm coming up on my Shotokan black belt. And the person that I'm doing it under, another plug, Sensei Bobby. So Sensei Bobby's out of Tampa and Fishhawk, and he runs Tatoru Dojo. You could probably find him on Instagram and all that. That's where I train under. And he's a Shotokan guy, but he also has a background in MMA, and he's a certified instructor under the Machida family. So, you know, Lyoto Machida and Shinzo
Okay.
Machida,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the UFC. And so they have their own system of karate, and he's a certified instructor under them. He doesn't teach like a 1-for-1 program of Machida karate,
Yeah.
but it's heavily influenced by it. So the
Okay.
karate that I do is very applicable. So the original, again, I'm very blessed. The original school that I came from, very applications based, very fighting based, and then the guy that I train with now, also very applications, fighting, heavy based. Because at the end of the day, like we said in the traditional martial arts, you can do, you know, and if these are your sports, no hate. But there's a lot of people who
Yeah.
don't even do these sports. It's just the training that they do, where it's like performance kata and then like point fighting, where it's like, okay, if you want to train how they did when karate was first developed, that's not what they did. They did the kata, but then they took those moves that they're doing from the kata and did a partner drill, and now they use that partner drill and try to use it in sparring. But the problem is when you get too like, oh, I'm blocking a low kick to my leg and then I'm punching. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you know
Yeah.
what makes sense? It's like the concept of it, right? So it's very strict in the movement, but what you're doing can still be applied. You know, if someone throws a teep or a front kick at me, I can swipe it out of the way and I can hit that straight hand. That might not look
Yeah.
exactly like this, but
Right.
that is what you're doing. Arm is doing the same thing, you know. So people get
Same
too
thing. Yeah.
about what you're doing when in reality the kata, there's a lot in it that you can extract and use as like actual fighting, you know. But a lot of people
Yeah.
don't train that way. But luckily enough, like I
No.
said, my original gym was like that, and the gym I'm with now is like that. So Sensei Bobby's awesome. But that's the karate I'm into now.
Okay.
But so the next
All
step,
right.
again, long-winded answer. I'm sorry, but yeah, the next step is the
I
black
love
belt.
these long answers, man. That's good stuff. But you know, karate. When you say the black belt back in the day, 4 or 5 years as opposed to 10 years, but it was the dedication back then is totally different than now. Back then, you know, people were studying martial arts every day. It was a part of their lives.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
them getting the black belt as opposed to nowadays, some people go 2-3 times a week at the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people do a little longer. So it's going to take longer to get there. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that's good stuff,
I
man.
all you know, the years that I was there, I was, you know, that those 4 years I was working at that MMA gym, we were still doing the karate program. So I had gotten to a point where I was teaching and I was helping run the classes and stuff like that, and just never really got the opportunity to teach because the head instructor started doing other business, you know, things and
Gotcha.
content creation and whatnot. So he wasn't around as much. So by the time I left, it was just kind of like, all right, well, I'm not gonna pursue this anymore, you know. It had always
get
been
it.
like a goal of mine. But you know, the black belt only means so much. You know, the black belt is just an indicator of like I know my shit a little bit, and I've been doing it for a while. You know what I mean? Because you know just
And
as
you
well
got
as
to
I do.
start over.
Even
That's it.
with jiu-jitsu, where it's like you can have a black belt and then you can have a competition black belt. And it's like, oh, the jump between those is very big. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like
it's huge, man. It's huge, man. Difference,
only
man.
so much. I think a lot of people put emphasis on like the black belt, and even though I know I'm talking about how that's my next goal, it's just more so it's about damn time. You know what I mean? That's the way I think about it.
Yeah.
I'm just leading up to it because it'll be my first black belt test. So if you have any advice, I don't know if you ever got a black belt in the traditional arts when you trained them,
Oh
but
yeah, I've been black belts. I got several different black belts, and yeah, it's hey, just keep doing what you're doing. Don't change anything. If I'm giving you any advice, I shouldn't have to give you anything. You're on the path already.
thank you,
It's
sir.
good. Treat it like another day of training. If you trained hard all the way, treat it just like another day of training. Are you be doing
Oh,
the 3 hour class, the 3 hour training? I mean the testing, or how's it gonna go?
yes, I think it's going to be around 3 hours. I'm not sure the exact timing of it all. The thing is my knee is still messed up, and so
Ooh,
it'll be
yeah,
1 year of healing since I got my knee surgery. So he's going to
yeah,
keep that into account. So also everything that we're going to be doing it's not detrimental. The thing is like those black belt tests back in the day. It's like yeah, you're making me stand in horse stance for 2.5 hours, but you're also fucking or sorry, you're also ruining my knees as you do that. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Or
Right. This
make
is
me
not
do
your
this.
career.
My
Yeah.
front delt is going to be injured for the next. You know what I mean? So there's less of that going on. He's going to push me. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure I'm going to have to do a bunch of physical stuff, but it's
Oh yeah.
in a fight applicable actual athletics type of way versus a we're just going to torture you. You know what I mean? Because back in the day, we didn't
Oh
know anything
yeah.
about like as much about like health science and how like oh we shouldn't hold these certain positions or we shouldn't whatever. And
Oh
you know
yeah. Absolutely, man.
the old school guys like to be like, "Oh no, you're just being a p word," and it's like, brother, like, no, we have the science now where we can see that that's not good for you. Like, we know what's good for us and what makes us strong, makes us better. And now we don't. You know what I mean? We're living in the new
Yeah.
age. Like,
Yeah.
stop doing
Yeah.
this. He was saying he didn't know the science behind why this is bad for him. You know what I mean? So he just did. He
No
just did
more
it. You
coming
know?
back with busted everything. Arms popped out of socket, knees jacked up, for a testing. Oh yeah, those were brutal days. But yeah, I was listening. Was it Kim Shamrock? I think it's Ken Shamrock. This was recently. He has a video on Instagram. He's talking. He was giving us some. It looked like a TED talk he was doing, but he was talking about. I guess someone asked him what was he a black belt in, and he was like, I've never been tested for a black belt. I don't even have any ranking in any arts. I've been in the MMA side of the fights forever. I've just been the baddest man on the planet for how long? He says. You asked me what black belt I got? I don't have any black belts, but I got all these title belts right here. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
enough
I
said.
saw that same interview. He's like, I ain't
You
got
saw
a black belt,
that?
but
Yeah.
I got gold belt.
Yeah, right.
Which when it comes
Exactly. Exactly. It makes
with
sense
MMA,
though, man.
so it means so much. Like I said, the belt is just an indicator of like, oh, you know the basics of what we're doing, and you've been doing it for a while. That's all it really is. You know, I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on it, and it goes to show in something like MMA, mixed martial arts, you don't have to have a black. Like it's not like you don't need it. You know what I mean? When back in the day, and when I say back in the day, I really mean like more your generation because previous to because there's obviously many generations of martial arts, but I think in terms of like karate, where they're like, pre-war karate, World War II karate, right after World War II. Then you had like the 60s, 70s era. Then you had like the 90s to the 2000s. And then you have like today. You know what I mean? So just like normal time, just like any uh, culture, millennial, Gen Z, Gen X, that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
say around the turn of the century, we started knowing more about like what's good and bad for our bodies. And so we're not going to do these
Oh,
crazy
absolutely. Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
In doing that, it led to like how like you have to have like a spine about those standards though. There's some things that we can go easy on. There's some things or whatever. And you saw some schools just fully go into the soft mode of like, no, we can't do any of that now. And now it's like, okay, now
Yeah.
we're doing
And it's too
daycare.
soft. Yeah. Yeah.
Now you can't
You
fight your way
know.
of a wet paper bag. What's the point of training martial arts if you can't? You know what I mean? I'm not saying you have to be some fantastic fighter, but in my opinion, if you're training martial arts, you should know how to defend yourself. I think that's kind of the point. What we're
Exactly. At the least, you should know how to defend yourself.
and that's why I have respect for the athletes because it's like, okay, even if you can't fight your way to a wet paper bag, but you're a kata champion, at least you still accomplished something. At least whatever. Like I
Yeah.
can give
Good
those
point.
people
Very good point.
room. But if you're not, and you're just training at a school, and the thing is, people go thinking that they're learning how to defend themselves, and then they're just doing like silly stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like it's not actually going to be
Yeah.
applicable. You know what I mean? And I see
Yeah.
it. I see it in the traditional martial arts realm. Because I'm from. I have one foot in the traditional martial arts realm, and then I have one foot in the combat sports realm. And because that, I see from both sides, the strengths and the weaknesses and stuff like that. So you definitely see that
Yeah.
in the traditional side where the standards have gone down so much, where it's like, what are we doing here? Maybe it's like and I don't want to be too like I want to put my empathy glasses on, you know, and maybe I don't want to be too harsh. Like maybe it's just the community that you get out of it. And even though you guys all stink, like it's like you're still doing something once a week, like
Yeah,
whatever.
I get that.
That to a certain extent. But then if you really in my core ask the point of martial arts, martial, military arts, martial and artistic expression
Yes.
of war. You know what I mean? Like that's what
Yes.
we're doing. And
Period. That's what it is, man. That's what
I
it
don't
is.
wanna-
And I like, but it does have that camaraderie, that team spirit, and a lot of guys need that. Nothing's wrong with that. But however, if you're going to do that, at least learn a system together. Learn something how to fight together. Learn how to defend yourself together. You know, and not just go there for a pretty kick day.
or at least mix it. You know what I mean? Like maybe you train this martial art because it's a little more applicable. Maybe I do Muay Thai on these days, and then I do Wushu on these days. So I might do my Wushu forms, and I'm not really Wushu doesn't have fighting applications, but a lot of it is performance based. So maybe I do Wushu on these days, and then I do, you know, Muay Thai on these days. The problem is people don't, you know, and that goes back to like an old school like loyalty thing where it's like they don't feel like they want to leave their martial art, or sometimes the culture of their gym is to cross train and not be able to do those things, which is just absolutely silly. If any coach actually cares about you, they'll let you cross train. They'll let you go to other places and learn new things. If you can go learn something sick and bring it back to me and I'll teach you, hee, now it's mine. You know what I mean?
I get it. I get it.
I'll never tell someone that trains with or trained to like not train with other people. Like that's just silly. I think that's just an old school tactic of trying to keep people in their gym, you know?
That's what it is, and most people don't want to lose anybody. You're just thinking, oh, if you go over there, you're gonna like this better. I had an instructor. This was it was about 10 years ago, and because I have a black belt in Hapkido also, and so he found me out, and I was doing that. He was a school where he knew me, but he had a Taekwondo school, and he was looking for somebody to do a Hapkido demo, and so he reached out to me, and I was like, his name is Grandmaster Kim. So I'm like, sure, I'll do. I sat down and met with the guy, did the whole thing. So we're sitting down talking about what he wants me to demo. And I'm like, okay, this, that, and other stuff. And he stopped. He says, I'm not going to try to do his accent, you know, Korean guy. He's like, don't mess with my students. No, don't take my students. I'm like, what do you mean? No, you only demo. That's it. You leave, you come, you leave. I said, okay. And then so I was like, all right, that's the plan. I thought, you know, you want me to come do this demo. And then so I left. And not even a week later, he called me. He was like, well, I changed mine. No more. You don't come here no more. I'm like,
Unfortunate. Yeah.
I was just coming to do a demo for you. I was like, I'm not taking your students. I got enough of my own. What are you talking about?
There's a lot of people who put too much emphasis on, in my opinion, and there's going to be a lot of people who don't agree with this and whatever. It's just my opinion. But poaching, they think poaching is a really big deal where it's you are taking students from me. It's like you should have enough confidence in your program and your school where if they leave, so be it. Go train and go somewhere else. They can do that. But like you should have enough confidence.
They're going to do it anyway.
That it doesn't matter to you. You know what I mean? Like if it's not for I've had people, even though I just started my club, I've had people that came in, tried it out for a few weeks, and it wasn't for them, and then they left. Like, and then they're at other places training this. I don't care if everybody's martial arts journey is their own individual journey anyway. So who am I to tell you to not train somewhere else or to pick something else up? Like to me, that's I don't tell people what to do. You know what I mean? I have a mindset. It's like I don't agree with like being able to tell other people what unless it's like detrimental to them. But people, you get what I'm saying? Where it's like just do your own thing.
Exactly what you're saying. Yeah, do your own thing.
Even if you're considered high supreme grandmaster or whatever the heck the titles that people like to use. Yeah. Who the heck are you to tell people that they can't train another art or try? This is their life. Because I just apply it to myself.
And they're paying you.
I would never let someone tell me I can't train another art. I'd never let anybody tell me I can't go do anything else. And if they did, that's a red flag that they're not a place where I should be or under.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It's a red flag, huge. Like you said earlier, it's just about keeping students and trying to look out for their bottom line. I understand you have a business to run. I get that. But the people are going to come to your place is supposed to be there anyway. Even if this guy doesn't want to go train, so he's going to leave anyway. Let him leave. Yeah. You can't make anybody stay. And I know at our school, I didn't want anybody to pay me if they didn't want to be there. So, I mean, we never had long contracts. It was just a month to month. We didn't lock you in anything. If you decide to leave, just let me know before the money comes out and I can stop the payment and go on about your day.
Yeah, contracts are, they're so silly when it comes to martial arts. Like trying to lock people down. And this might be another controversial thing, but I don't think you care about your students and care about excelling and actually care about their martial arts journey if you're doing contracts. If you are trying to lock somebody in my opinion, in like a legally binding you can't leave type of thing, like that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? That's like I'm gonna get a girlfriend, make a piece of paper that if she breaks up with me, like you can't Wait, that's actually a
You
thing.
signed the contract, baby.
Where's the dough? Where's the dough? You know what I mean? So I feel like it's the same with like martial arts schools where it's like, I don't care that you want to leave. Like you want to go express yourself in a different way because at the end of the day, martial arts it's martial arts. It's a physical, art is a individual expression on different mediums, whether that's painting or singing or dancing or punching or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? It's an artistic expression,
Yeah.
and so that's a very individual thing. And to tell someone that they can't express their self artistically, to me, is like it's like a carnal sin or something. Like you can't tell people not to express themselves and not be themselves, in my opinion. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't play that. Like if you want to go to this gym and learn something, if you want to go to this gym, if you want to express yourself in this way at this place, I don't care. If you want to come back to me, that's awesome. I don't want to say I don't care because I do care, but it's more of like I care about you, and because
Yeah.
I care about you, I don't care about that.
Right, exactly. I feel you. I feel exactly what you mean, and it makes sense to be that way. And I think the better martial arts don't lock you in and make you stay. And I get why they do it. It's a financial thing. I'm trying to lock my numbers in so I can do my accounting, make sure I have money here, pay my bills here. But you know what? If your system's great, they'll stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's how I look at it.
your program and your system, the culture of your gym should speak for itself. People shouldn't need
Yes.
contracts or something to keep them there. You know what I mean? Like if they're gonna be there, they're gonna be there, and if they're not, you're messing up. That's on you. That has nothing to do with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In
Get
my
better.
opinion, like, and sometimes that doesn't have to do with
Exactly.
them. It's just that's how things go. People try to put too much blame on every little thing. Like this happened because of this. It's like no, the things just happen, man. I mean, the universe is a chaotic place, and things just happen sometimes, and there's no rhyme or explanation. People, unfortunately, pass away off of nothing every day. People, you know what I mean, get millions of dollars out of nowhere. Like there's life changing stuff that happens to people just like daily, and you never really, you know what I mean. That kind of goes back to the empathy thing, where it's like you're gonna lock this people. You don't know their life. Like maybe they are just barely able to make dues, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
now you're locking them
right.
into a contract, and now you have them in some legally binding. Oh, you're going to take them to court, and now this dude's homeless, and now like what? That doesn't make any sense to me. You care
It
more about
makes
your money
no
and your
sense.
like your students in
Yeah.
the martial arts, because to me that's just crazy.
It is, and in a hobby, locking them into a hobby. That's like guys
Yeah,
locking me in to go play golf. I have to come play golf at your place 3 times a week, or you're going to sue me. It's like what?
imagine. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess at the end of the day, as you're paying your dues, somebody if they force you to show up too, they knock on your door and like, hey, why aren't you in class, bro?
Over the years, I wanted to do that to people before. Aren't you training for this fight? Why aren't you in class? But I never did that. I just okay. It'd be funny if
Totally.
someone knocks on your door and drag you out. Okay, you've been here. We've done this long, man. I appreciate everything, man. It's been really cool talking to you. Man. But before you get out of here, man, tell how everyone can find you. Tell them all your handles, all that kind of stuff, so they can connect with you.
Isaac Wilson
good.
0412 on Instagram and on TikTok. Those are the two things that I post on the most. YouTube, you can find me on YouTube too. You just look up Isaac Wilson. And then my club is Florida Karate Jutsu. We're going to do all the plugs right now. Florida Karate
There
Jutsu
you
is
go.
mine. The Muay Thai I train at is Ko Muay Thai. My karate sensei, Tataru Dojo. That's Tataru Dojo. I just had to say it correctly. Katakana Japanese. It just means
There you
toe.
go.
Yeah, and that's basically it. You'll find me on those pages because I'm a student there, so they post me there, and then I have my own stuff. But yeah, that's where you can
All
find
right,
me. For
man.
sure.
This has been awesome, man. You're a good guy, man. I appreciate you more than you know. I like your mindset, man. It's such a young baby age. Yeah, right. But you got a great mindset, man. It's awesome, brother. So, hey, we got to do number 2 after you do your testing or something like that. Come in and tell us how bad it was.
I know, right? You know what? We can do an update anytime you want, man. I'm always open to hop on this podcast with you. You're a great guy. I love what you're doing. I'm always open to make content with people and talk to people within the martial arts world, and because that's what I do. And that's what I love. And so seeing people doing their thing, and I just love that. I love seeing people succeed and doing their thing and just being awesome at it. You know what I mean? And you're a great host, and I appreciate you having
thanks,
me on
man.
today. And
Appreciate you.
yeah, so all the people out there, you better like and share this, not because of me, but because of Tony. He's awesome. Get to his other
There you go.
conversations.
I appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon, brother. Yeah.
For sure, Tony. We'll talk
Take
anytime you
care.
want. But all right, bye.
All right, brother. Take care of yourself. Talk to you soon. Bye.
For sure. See ya.
Lines on my face like cracks in the road. Still chasing fire through the years half slow. Weights on my back,